back. Today I'm reacting to Chris Redfield's recent hate in Resident Evil. What's going on with Chris? Why y'all hate him? Huh? I don't understand. Aside from that hideous model in RE7, I didn't understand that model. I didn't understand the direction they were trying to take. But what's the hate about? Let's watch. Hello.
Dial now,
By
we're just
Conjured
getting
Lion.
started. Look behind you. I said, look behind.
Huh? This is
So
demonic.
why all of a sudden is Chris Redfield one of the most hated Resident Evil characters at the moment? Like, people are absolutely throwing this character under the bus, and it's actually so heartbreaking to see because I actually do love Chris Redfield a lot. And I feel like Chris Redfield is actually one of the more developed characters in the Resident Evil franchise currently. But I'll name some of the reasons why Chris Redfield is actually hated by the community, and that's some
I really liked him in RE6. I liked his development with what's his face, Pierce. I think was it Pierce? Yeah.
fans find Chris Redfield bland, boring, less interesting compared to like the other protagonists like Leon Kennedy. This is like the stuff I do hear on social media a lot, although I don't get a reason why they think so. They just give me that particular reason and don't really go in depth with it.
So how about you shut your mouth?
Apparently Chris Redfield is also overused in the entire series, making his appearance in Resident Evil 1, skip to Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 6, 7, and 8. We can argue his appearance in 7 and 8 because in my personal opinion, I feel like appearing in a 10-second cutscene at the very end of 7 and having a 1 or 2 hour DLC isn't necessarily too much appearing. That's not really enough screen time for me to say, hey, like this is way too much appearance, because if Jill Valentine had the same amount of screen time, 1 or 2 hours, people complain how she had no time in a game whatsoever. So it's a little double standard there. It's a little bit there. Some people don't actually like Chris's depressive behavior, his tendency to start quote-unquote bar fights, which is extremely excusable because he has trauma, which a lot of people do put an excuse to a lot of characters today of why they are acting the way they are today. But for some reason, Chris Redfield is catching the most hate for having the most trauma. I mean, there are fans out there who hates this dude more than Albert Wesker himself, man, and let me tell you, it is beyond nuts to me. But here's my personal take of what I
Then they're not fans. They're not fans of the game. That's all.
think about Chris Redfield.
I mean, I could understand the fact that he's a bit overexposed, and perhaps Jill is a favorite, and she has the same amount of screen time, but she's not as exposed. You know, I feel like it's kind of like that. Perhaps maybe he's not one of the favorites, like Leon. You know, they're just trying so hard to push him onto people. And now they're starting to listen. Leon and Jill, Resident Evil 9.
My opinion, of course. So Chris has always been like this cornerstone of the franchise. He's been a pillar of the Resident Evil series. In his early days, from being a STARS member to becoming a seasoned BSAA operative, Chris has grown into one of the more iconic and enduring heroes in survival horror. He has an extremely rich story arc in comparison to every other character in the series. He has personal struggles, he has triumphs, battling bioweapons to coping with tragic losses. Granted, you can say a lot about these things about these other characters, but they go more in depth with Chris's kind of trauma more than any other character in the series. So this depth kind of makes him a more compelling protagonist who resonates with fans on a way deeper level in the series. So while Chris Redfield did appear in Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil Village, his role was mostly a supporting role. I don't consider him to be a main in 7 or 8. You do play as Chris in both the ending of Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil Village. That's only a segment, or I'm sorry, I should say for 7, he was actually a DLC playable character. You don't actually play with him in the end of 7. Oops, that's my bad. So with a lot of talk and a lot of, I guess, speculation that Jill Valentine may have a return, and this is coming out from Capcom themselves, to kind of have Jill Valentine have a more prominent role in the future. As said in one of the Death Island interviews about 2 years ago, they want Jill Valentine to have a future, which is why they kind of like retconned her character up a bit into wanting to make her age deaccelerate. And my stance is, if you're gonna put Jill Valentine in it, I don't see why you would not.
So they turned her into Alice from Resident Evil.
Put Chris Redfield alongside with Jill Valentine. I feel like this pair in particular should alongside with Jill Valentine age deaccelerate. And my stance retcon her character up a bit into wanting to make her age deaccelerate. And my stance is, if you're gonna put Jill Valentine in it, I don't see why you would not put Chris Redfield alongside with Jill Valentine. I feel like this pair in particular should be a staple in the series, although I did personally like the interaction between Leon and Jill in Death Island itself. It's always a good time to see Chris and Jill on screen just helping each other out, because we do know, I mean, we have more of a history with these two characters when it comes to a particular partnership than any other character in the series, or any other couple in the series, or partnership, whatever you want to call it. So I feel like in the next Resident Evil title, it would be the perfect chance to actually put Chris Redfield Redfield as a main character, maybe? Oh, put Chris, Jill, Leon, whoever the hell. The ending of Village did hint at the fact that Chris is leading an assault on the BSAA headquarters. It would be a shame. It would be an absolute freaking shame if we don't get to see any of the stuff and it's kind of like in a document somewhere in the background. We just play as Leon. That would be extremely disappointing, especially when this was an actually good setup. This was a good cliffhanger that came out of Resident Evil Village. I enjoyed that cliffhanger. I wanted more. I wanted to see what Capcom was going to do with this plot. And if this is completely scrapped and they're going to move on to something else, then it's another huge opportunity. I think that was a dog barking in the background. Oh, we can get a new parry system with Chris Redfield, maybe do something with his punch, kind of similar to like Carlos in Resident Evil 3 Remake. We can do stuff with like his machete, maybe see Chris actually teaming up with Leon Kennedy in a future Resident Evil game. Although they've been together in Resident Evil 6, I don't think there was a particular moment where they actually teamed up. But I personally think Chris Redfield's return as a lead protagonist in future Resident Evils would be a huge win. Although I do want to see other characters too. I don't mind who's the main character in the future, but my thing is I don't necessarily think people should hate Chris in particular. I get that people do have other favorite characters, but Chris is that guy, man. Chris Redfield is probably the pillar of Resident Evil in general. I feel like when it comes to character arcs,
that's what I'm saying.
You know, they've
just diminished his role as cameos from now on until people want to play as Chris.
Nailed Chris Redfield. It completely nailed his character, and I really do like the new direction that they're going with Chris Redfield, because in Village we do actually see kind of like this battle veteran Chris Redfield who's had enough of this BS of BOWs being spread around, and I just love this iteration of Chris. Let me know what you think about.
I did too in Resident Evil Village. I think it was great having guns to kind of shoot.
Oh, Chris Redfield, do you think he should actually return along with maybe Leon, Jill Valentine, hell, put in Rebecca in the mix? I personally would, but I want to hear your guys' opinions. But if you like the content, make sure to like the video, and if you are new to the channel, welcome in, and be sure to subscribe, and most importantly, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Please be safe out there, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next time, and until then, peace.
Alright, subscribe to this man. But yeah, we need a lot more of other characters that we don't get to see much of. I mean, Wesker's dead. Can they bring him back? He's dead. But yeah, let me know what you think about this video in the comments down below. Which other characters would you like to see moving forward as they diminish Chris's role in the Resident Evil franchise? Unless they make him like a romantic interest, you know what I'm saying? Because him and Joe got something going on. They've hinted at it many times. So let me know what other what do you think. Let me know what other game videos you want me to react to. Like, subscribe if you vibe, become a beat today, and I will see you guys in the live streams.